I'm live. All right. Hi, guys. Sorry I'm late.
What's your percentage at in record?
63.
You record or no?
Mm-mm. All right. I know none of you are in here yet. I'm just going to send a message to your parents and letting you know we are up and running. Alrighty. We're going to give everyone just a couple of minutes because we are having some trouble here at my house today with the Wi-Fi. I know that I see at least one of you are watching. So like I said, we're going to give them just a couple more minutes. And hopefully we will have some more viewers here pretty soon. All right, I see I got 2 of you. Send a couple more messages here to some parents. Got a couple parents messaging. Sorry, guys, those of you that are waiting. No, we are a little late today. All right, well, either way, this will be posted after the live reading. So people will be able to watch it. So we can go ahead and get started. So this is the boy on the porch. And remember, it ended where the boy had a note in his pocket, right? And it said, "Please take care of Jacob. He is a good boy. We will be back when we can." And if you remember, I showed you the writing, okay? A lot of words were spelled wrong. The writing itself was a little sloppy. All right, so the next chapter. When no one had come for the boy by nightfall, John and Marta fashioned a small bed beside their own. Marta offered the boy one of John's softest shirts to sleep in and set out a basin of warm water and soap for him to wash with. She tucked him into the bed, patted his hand, and hummed a few bars of an old, half-forgotten lullaby softly, for she was embarrassed that John might hear her and think her foolish. As she stood to go, the boy reached up and tapped her arm 5 or 6 times. In that funny way he did, always lightly tapping on surfaces, on his own arm, on the dog, on the floor. His touch startled her, and she nearly wept, so grateful she was for the gesture. After the child was asleep, John said, "This is too strange, Marta. Are you sure you have no idea who?" "No, no idea. Maybe someone you worked for? Maybe a distant relative?" No, maybe one of your relatives. You know they have no idea where we live. My family never kept track of anybody." "But then who? And why us? I thought they'd be back by evening, didn't you?" "Yes, surely by tomorrow then, surely." So John says, "Marta, maybe it's one of your relatives." And Marta said, "My family doesn't even know where we live," which is interesting. I think my family knows where I live. Your family knows where you live. So we will have to see. Chapter 6. At noon the next day, John said, "Marta, I don't know what to do about all of this. What are we supposed to do with the boy?" Marta stood on the back porch, watching the child trail a stick through the dirt. The beagle followed close behind, sniffing at the ground. Marta, should I take the boy with me when I go into town? No, the people might come back. What people? The people who left the note, the ones who said they'd be back. But they didn't say when they'd be back, did they? They didn't say that. After John left for town, Marta took the boy to the barn to see the new kittens and the mother goat and her 3-month-old babes. The boy petted the animals and mimicked the kittens skittering and the goat sleeping. The beagle watched from the side, intervening only when the boy got too close to the mother goat. When the boy sat in the straw, the kittens crawled over him, and the young goats butted their heads under his arms, making the child laugh. But it was a silent laugh, a laugh that you could see but not hear. It spread across his face and shook his body. It waggled his arms and legs. It was Marta who gave voice to the laugh, watching the boy. She laughed until her side ached. She laughed until the beagle crawled up into her lap and licked her face, as if to taste the laugh. And as she was laughing, Marta was hoping that the boy might stay a day or two. So Marta's feeling pretty connected to the boy. During the 12-mile stretch into town, John's mind took as many winding turns as the narrow road. He tried to ready himself for what he might hear in town and for what he should say. Maybe he should go straight to the sheriff's office and let him know about the boy. He didn't like the sheriff much. He was a bossy man, given to poking his finger in your face as if to warn you that he knew better about everything, and you'd better not waste his time. John's mind turned to Marta's face when she held the child, and when she'd tuck him into bed, and when she'd risen in the night to check on him. Maybe, John thought, he should go first to the general store and pick up the tone of things. Gossip found its way quickly to the general store in these small towns. Out of nowhere, he thought of jelly beans and how he loved them as a child, how his father had taken him into town and let him buy a nickel's worth of jelly beans from the glass jar on the counter at the general store. Maybe, John thought, he would bring some jelly beans home for the boy. All right, chapter 7. When John returned home, the farmhouse was empty. He dashed out into the yard and called for Marta. He raced to the barn, calling her name, Marta, Marta! He didn't know what made him so anxious. Maybe the people come for the boy? He should have stayed home with Marta. What if there was a problem? But, what sort of problem? What was the matter with him? He wasn't usually a worrier. The barn was empty except for the kittens bouncing over hay bales. The goats and cows were in the fenced enclosures outdoors. And then he saw them, Marta and the boy, at the far end of the enclosure, lining up bottles and cans on the fence. John, there you are. What news? Oh, don't tell me. Please don't tell me. Listen to this. The boy raised his hands as if he were a music conductor and then began tapping at the bottles and cans with slender sticks. It wasn't random, reckless tapping. There was a distinct rhythm to it, slow and soft at first, rising to a crescendo, and then falling back to a beautiful calm and rising again. It sounded like the waves at the ocean or the wind as it came across the fields and through the trees. I taught him that, Marta said. I was pretending to be a conductor, and he put the cans up there, and then, I was just tapping them. You were pretending to be a conductor? You were tapping the cans? Well, don't sound so surprised, John. But how would you know how to be never mind. The boy was imitating my every move, and then he took off with it. Listen to him. The boy continued, oblivious to everything but the sounds coming from the bottles and cans. And wait, Marta said, watch what he does with the ladder. Farther down the fence there was a ladder, which she now dragged toward the boy. She handed the boy the thicker sticks, the one John used for stirring paint. I taught him this, she said. The boy rapped a rhythmic tune against the wooden ladder on the side and the rungs, louder rhythm, full of life and joy, like a dozen dancers dancing on a wooden floor, or a dozen drummers drumming. You taught him that? John asked. Only part, just the beginning, and he makes up the rest. He's very quick to learn, John. The boy's attention moved on to a bucket half full of rainwater. He dipped a stick into the bucket and swirled the water round and round. If it's bad news from the town, don't tell me, John. Not yet. He rested a hand on her shoulder. There is bad news and there is good news. Don't tell me the bad news, John. The bad news is, Marta covered her ears. I said, don't tell me. John moved her hands. The bad news is that you've got cat poo on your skirt. The good news is that there's no news in town. No news? No news at all? Well, now I take that back. There was a little news. Vernie Gossam broke his leg kicking his cow. Well, that serves him right, kicking his cow. I brought something home for the boy, John said, removing a small brown bag from his jacket pocket and opening it for Marta to see its contents. He glanced away, embarrassed. John, don't go filling this boy up with too many sweets. You're one to talk. Didn't I see a batch of newly made fudge on the counter? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead now, see if he likes those jelly beans. The boy, Jacob, seemed to be reluctant to take the jelly beans that John offered him, but at last and stared at them. Doesn't he know what they are? Marta said. John reached into the bag, selected a red jelly bean, and popped it into his own mouth. He said. The boy then chose a red jelly bean from his palm and placed it on his tongue. He tapped his lips twice and smiled. All right. So we are going to stop there. If you tuned in late, because I know I was having internet issues, this will be up on my YouTube page. I would just encourage you to rewatch it so that you know what happened in the previous chapters. All right, we are going to try Zoom. Hopefully my internet is not acting crazy. So go ahead and check your Canvas inbox. You should have a link in about 2 to 3 minutes. All right, see you soon. Bye.